Many years ago, first heard the hypothesis of paleocontact in antiquity. I was very interested in this version and started to study it. It turned out that in almost all highly developed cultures of the world, there are indirect and sometimes quite explicit traces of the intervention of higher powers in the course of human development. Take ancient China and India, for example. It would seem that these are countries with different cultures, different lifestyles and histories, but many things in the formation of these states are common. For example, many researchers of antiquity traveled a very large number of cities and sites of major excavations in these countries. Some of them claim that in both India and China, the development of various industries began after the arrival of gods from heaven. The following descriptions are quite accurate. A well of light appeared in the sky, and an iron chariot flew out of it. With rumbling, lightning, and fire, it literally cut the sky before it descended to the earth. All who saw it were blinded for a few minutes because it was so bright. When they saw it, the Emperor of the universe and his retinue were standing in front of them. Academic scholars will say it's a literary narrative. Well, aerialists, what can I say? But personally, I see in these lines a picture when with the help of high technologies to the earth, where the mankind is languishing its miserable existence, arrive those in whose interests that our civilization was intelligent, trained, and cultural. Utopian? Maybe, but that's how I see the situation. There is plenty of such evidence in various ancient myths and legends. An example is the Indian Empire. It is a huge space covered with jungles, in which, like mushrooms, megacities suddenly begin to develop. The system of counting, astronomy, the most complicated hierarchy of deities, cattle domestication and farming, jewelry, construction of cities in the mountains, the height of which reaches 4,000 meters. Moreover, the constructions are made not of small bricks, but of multi-ton blocks. I am not ready to believe that people reached all this knowledge on their own. Besides, in the books of the second half of the last century, devoted to the theory of paleocontact, there are many illustrations with artifacts from Ecuador, Mexico, Guatemala, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, and other countries, which clearly depict the interaction of people with mysterious creatures. If we look at the most ancient map of Egypt, we see meager, scattered settlements in the desert. There were no megacities, no pyramids, none of that. Even in the Nile River Valley, there was no highly developed civilization. And suddenly, there are pharaohs, a complex state structure, an excellent knowledge of battle tactics, and the craft developed by leaps and bounds. In some book, I don't remember now, there was a picture of a bas-relief from Dendera, which depicted the arrival of gods of Egypt to supervise people. Doesn't the similarity of these myths in different ancient cultures seem like something to you? The first gods of summer were extraterrestrial beings, which is why they lived for tens and hundreds of thousands of years. By the way, there are tales not only about the arrival of mentors from outer space, but also about their departure from Earth. Thus, Eric von Daniken, referring to the Indian Vedas and Mayan legends, points out that the Golden Age of States is directly related to the departure of the gods from the planet Earth. After that, there was no one left to watch over mankind, and chaos, wars, epidemics began, which threw all world cultures, without exception, hundreds of years back in development. Many of those knowledge, which were so kindly provided to mankind, were lost. As a result, people had to rediscover electricity, laws of mechanics, physics, and many other things. Russian researcher of ancient myths Alexander Koltopin believes that the gods read, highly developed aliens arrived on Earth when mankind was making ends meet and surviving the struggle with wild animals for existence. Having received great knowledge, people became conceited, stopped listening to their mentors, and some myths even speak of attempts to kill them. Naturally, no one tolerated this. There are two variants of the development of events of that time. The first is when the gods decided not just to leave Earth, but to punish humans. Weapons of mass destruction were struck on some centers of antiquity. Because of this, the climate began to change by chain reaction, and bitter cold came. On other interpretation, so the biblical flood has begun. In any case, people were thrown back on centuries in development. And there is a second option, where mentors simply left our planet, and people plunged into chaos, rivalry, and war. Yes, I agree. It sounds fantastic. But there are a huge number of bas-reliefs, artifacts, images that point to paleocontact. Whether you believe in it or not is up to each of you. I do. And more to the point, I believe that our mentors are still watching over humanity. That's why we humans have not yet destroyed life on our beautiful planet. If you liked the video, then don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. There will be a lot of interesting, shocking, and exciting things ahead.